Welcome to the in-home process call. My name is Marysa Maggio. I'm really excited to be on with you all today. Before we jump into anything in terms of the actual in-home process, I do want to hit on schedule. Now, as you kind of truck through this business, you're going to see that schedule is extremely important. If your schedule is off, you're probably going to be really off. Now, you may look at this and say, I'm not coming in full-time, I'm coming in part-time, or whatever it may be. That's okay, but you want to make sure if you're coming in part-time, you get with your mentor, you get with your upline, and you have still a very ironed out schedule of what your week is going to look like, week in and week out. But first and foremost, if we are looking at a full-time producer schedule, we'd be looking at dialing on Monday, assuming that you're in home. You're going to be running appointments for Tuesday and for Wednesday. And then on Thursday, you're going to be dialing the phones to set up appointments for Friday and Saturday. Now, we always want to remember if we're looking at a virtual platform, we want to think about these numbers in doubles. So if we're looking on Monday to set up a schedule for Tuesday, Wednesday, if we're doing virtual, we want our goal to be to get through 30 presentations from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? Get through 30 presentations, 30 Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Just like on Monday, if you're in home, you're booking 15 appointments for Tuesday and Wednesday, and you're booking 15 appointments for Friday and Saturday. I do always like to say, if I don't hit my goal, I do go ahead and put Sunday in there. On Sunday, people are home. If they're home and they're willing to speak with you on a Sunday, they're typically pretty serious about what they're looking into, and also typically respect the fact you took the time out of your day to, get there and help their family out. So first and foremost, schedule is going to be key. If you don't follow the schedule, it's going to be really hard to track your results. So now a common question that I get is, well, Marysa, what do I need to physically go into the home? Or, what do I need to get started, so to say? So I'm going to hit on all of these things kind of in a different arena, but first and foremost, you're going to need a forward mindset. You're going to need a positive mindset. If your mindset is shot, it's not going to help you out. You telling yourself bad things about yourself or other people on the way to your appointments is definitely not going to make you see a better return on what you're trying to help a family accomplish. And then I'm going to go over what you physically need to go into the home. The third thing, and debatably, in my opinion, one of the most important things that you can do, your role and purpose. The fourth thing I'm going to hit on is financial inventory. The fifth is asking questions. And the last will be showing options or the close. So some resources that are great to have are going to be as follows. So FFLWestCoast.com as well as FFLSolidity.com. You can find most, if not all, of your agent needs. Anything from your dial tracker to financial inventory, credibility sheets, quoting tools, underwriting guides, the whole nine. You can typically find all of that on both of those websites. They're not necessarily interchangeable, but pretty interchangeable. Now, this one here in yellow, FFL-go.com. I've had this one bookmarked on my phone and my iPad since I got started with Family First Life. I would recommend bookmarking it as it does have a lot of the carrier underwriting guides and quoting tools to bring you directly to those websites. So in the beginning, you're a little bit shaky, so to say, of which way do I go or how do I pull up this quoting tool, which you want to try to make sure you have those things organized. FFL-go.com is going to be a great resource for you. Now, fourth thing would be download the Next Level Plus app. So this is the corporate app, Family First Life's corporate app, has updates, events, everything about Family First Life, anything and everything in regards to corporate. And then the last thing here that I do definitely want to hit on is if you're not in the Slack workspace, which is like a group workspace, if you're not in that, please reach out to your upline and let them know that you are not in the Slack workspace. But in the Slack workspace, there is what we refer to as an in-home help channel. And there is also what we refer to as a new agent hotline. Now, in the Slack channel, that in-home help channel, we have what we refer to as an underwriting genie. Now, this is an assistant who his role and goal really is to sit onto the Slack channel and to help agents make sure that they're going in the right directions for them and for their clients. So we definitely want to utilize that when needed. If you're in home, you do want to call your upline. However, if your upline doesn't answer and you're unable to get a hold of anybody, you want to make sure that you have this phone number saved. So this is what we refer to as the new agent hotline. And what this does is when you call it, it rings to 10 or more top producer and managers' phones. And whoever takes that call first, you're going to go ahead and be in touch with them. Now, this is not to be confused. They know why you're calling. So you don't have to be like, hey, I'm Marysa and, I work with Paul McLean and I'm calling because I need help in home. You want to call them just as you would call your upline. Hey, I'm sitting here with John and Mary. John is 65 years old. Mary is 60 years old. They're both non-smokers. John takes metformin and atorvastatin, and they've both never been hospitalized. We're looking to cover their final expenses. What's the best way to go? So whether you're calling your upline or you're calling the in-home health channel, again, you want to make sure that those two things are interchangeable. So what I would say is definitely save that phone number, that 888-236-7402. Again, that's 888-236-7402. And I will put that in the chat just in case anybody did miss that. All right. And then moving on slowly but surely here. Okay, so mindset. This is going to be the biggest thing, in my opinion, and through my experience in this industry. If your mindset isn't there, it's going to be extremely hard to get anything else there, so to say. So oftentimes, if we're going in home, we're doing telesales, we're picking the phone up, no matter what it is, it's typically going to be a mindset block that's telling us fight or flight, if you will, right? We want to get our mindset right by remembering people fill this form out. I don't care if it's, a mailer lead. I don't care if it's an internet lead. I don't care if, John passed you a napkin at Dunkin' Donuts that said, my name's John and I'd be looking into life insurance. This is my phone number. Whatever kind of lead it is, we want to remember we're there to help that family. So you hold the license. And when I came into this industry, I was 19 going on 20 years old. And as I'm sure you can imagine, I was concerned that people were not going to take me seriously. So I had to have a very strong mindset in the essence of, Marysa, you hold the license. Like if they didn't need your help, they would have their own insurance license and they would write their own insurance policy, right? So you hold the license. It would be a disservice to not be honest with your potential prospect. Now, when I talk about honesty, I don't mean, ethical and moral. I hope that has to go like unsaid. Of course, ethical and moral is extremely important and is above all in my personal opinion. But what I mean by honest is we need to be honest with our prospects or we're doing a disservice. If you're sitting with the client and you can't ask hard questions, it's going to make it very hard for you to build any type of value in this type of program. It's also going to make it very hard for you to have that business stay on the books. So you want to remember, like, hey, you know what? They might be, 50 and 60 years old, and I might be 20, or they might be 50 and 60 years old, and maybe I'm their peer, right? Whatever that looks like, you're there to help them. So self-talk is going to be extremely important. Remembering this is just a conversation, right? You book the appointment, you're getting in front of the person. If anybody can help the family, it's you. You already did most of the work. Dial day, guys, if you're booking for in-home, that's where you make most of your money, right? I always say you dial hard and you go and you help families and pick up checks the next 2 days, right? So your self-talk is, if anybody can help this family, it's me. I'm going there to help them. I'm gonna pick up the check and I'm gonna help my family at the same time. All we're doing is we're finding the quote unquote problem, if you will, and then a solution to that family situation. So the solution is going to be the plan you're offering to solve the problem. For example, we have John and Mary looking to cover their final expenses. American Eagle Premier's whole life is going to cover their final expenses. So the problem was there was no final expense coverage. The solution is American Eagle Premier. So we want to think about it like we are just problem solvers and order takers. Now, what else will typically come up? And it's almost like that nervous thing. Like you're never going to be ready enough to pick up the phone and make your first dial. You're never going to be ready enough to go into your first home. You're never going to be ready enough to make your first telesale. It's going to feel that way. That is not true. Whatever you go in there with, typically we're going to be able to help you out in there if, maybe you forgot something. However, some important stuff of what you do physically need to go into the home, I'm going to hit on that right now. I should redo this slideshow, and I'm kidding, guys. I'm half kidding, half serious. I personally bring in a clipboard. Now, some people might be like, well, that looks salesy. That looks this, that looks that. That's what I grew up on. So that's what I know. So what do I physically go into the home with? Now, first and foremost, the lead card. The lead card is whatever lead the folk filled out and sent back, whether that was online or it was a mailer. You want to make sure that you do physically have that so that you have that information. And also you're able to show that information to your potential prospect. The next thing you do always want to make sure that you have on you is your state insurance license. So for example, when I show up to somebody's home, what I have is my state insurance license and it's laminated. Now I mentioned that I go there with a clipboard. So for me, I have the laminated insurance license in front of the clipboard, and I'm walking in. So the first thing that they're seeing is my insurance license laminated. Are you guys getting a lot of feedback noise right now? No? Okay.
No, not at all.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So you want to make sure you have your state insurance license. So your state insurance license, I put that on the opposing side of my clipboard, and it's just simply there. So when I walk in, that's the first thing the family's seeing. Now, in each and every home, you want to make sure that you have a new financial inventory and a new credibility sheet. These are going to be crucial. Your financial inventory is like your cheat sheet that you didn't even know you had. It's going to ask a lot of the underlying questions that you didn't know, necessarily, or that you didn't memorize. And that's the great thing about the financial inventory as well as the credibility sheet. They're doing just that. They're edifying and giving you credibility. Next couple things you're going to need to go into the home: computer, tablet, iPad, whatever your preference is. You do just want to make sure, of course, if you're not at home, that you do indeed have a Wi-Fi stable connection, whether that be, a hotspot, an iPad that just links to your cellular data. But don't overthink this. Just make sure, again, you can get into the home, you can connect to the internet, and more often than not, folks will let you connect to their internet if you're having any issues with that. Now, the last two things here, so paper applications. These are really important because sometimes we might say, like, we're waiting for the insurance companies to come back with our agent codes, so we can't go make money until then. When I came into this business, guys, and like most people do come into this business, to say the least, I wasn't balling, right? I was on a budget. So paper applications were important because I needed to come in and I needed to make money fast, right? So paper applications, you want to make sure that you have, if you're on Solidity, you want to make sure that you have the CFG whole life paper application and the CFG term life paper application. In addition to that, because as we all know, technology can fail us at times, we want to make sure that we have the Mutual of Omaha Term Life Express application for your particular state, as well as the Mutual of Omaha Living Promise application for your state. So a total of 4 applications. Having a copy of 5 of each of those on you at all times is extremely important, again, to make sure if technology fails you, you're not failing your client by leaving with no application and their family unprotected. Last thing would be a leave behind sheet. So what is a leave behind sheet? We want to remember, of course, when we go into a home, there's nothing that we're leaving there, right? We're not leaving, a fancy pair of shoes or, a fancy new car, right? We're leaving protection for their family. So on the leave behind sheet, what that simply is, at the top of it, it's all of your information: your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number. The next section is the same thing for the client: first name, last name, email, phone number. And then you're going to go ahead and let's just say that we're using Americo Eagle Premier. We're going to go ahead and write the company, the name of the product, which would be, so it would be Americo's the company, Eagle Premier. We're going to write what they're covered for. And then we're going to go ahead and have them sign it. We're going to sign it. And we do that, guys. I do that because I take a photo of it and I leave it with the client. So now if John and Mary call me next week, I have a lot of clients, right? So I want to make sure that I can stay in tune with John and Mary immediately. So I just pull that up on my phone and I look at the leave behind sheet so I know exactly what we talked about and exactly what we went through, and I know their coverage. So the leave behind sheet's going to be huge because, again, we're not leaving them with anything tangible. We're leaving them with their family protected and a peace of mind, which is extremely important. But above that, we want to make sure that they have something to look back at and say, okay, yes, I have this Americal policy. It's Eagle Premier. It's covering me for 20,000 if I pass naturally and 40,000 if I pass accidentally. So you want to make sure that you have that. It's not only going to service you, your client, but it's going to help you to make sure that you can track your progress as we move forward. So I mentioned role and purpose. And again, I'm going to talk from an opinion stance. My opinion is if you can get your role and purpose down and you stick this every time, there's no way, I don't care if you're doing telesales or you're in home, there is zero way that you are not closing minimally, even if you are the worst person in the world at, helping families with life insurance, you are closing minimum 50% of your appointments. If you do this right, that's what's going to happen. So what is your role and purpose? It sets the structure, and I would even now at this point cross out in the home. It sets the structure in the home, on the phone, whatever it is, right? I'm going to go through mine, by the way, guys. I'm just going through kind of the pivot points of what I want you guys to see as I go through that. So it's going to set the structure of what's going to happen today, right? I always say, if you put somebody on a bus and you don't tell them where you're going, that's kidnapping, right? We don't want to kidnap our clients. We want to make sure they know exactly what's going to happen today. And also we know that we did our best job of setting the stage. Okay, so the role and purpose is going to let them know who we are, what we're there to accomplish. It's going to allow us to be proactive versus reactive. And the most important thing is this is the only, and I want to emphasize, only consistent thing that you can say in every single home and in every single appointment. So I empower and encourage everybody on this call, if you have yet to nail your role and purpose, make today the day that you go ahead, you get that on a Word document and you take it extremely seriously. The day that I did that, guys, in the brokerage world, my whole life changed because all I was doing was telling them who I was, what we're going to do. My close ratio went from I couldn't sell my sister an insurance policy to I was helping everybody I was sitting down with because there were very clear expectations, right? And we can even try to think about this from a stance of if I call, my sister and I say, hey, Christina, I'm just calling you because, I'm just kind of mad. It's she's like, okay, are you going to tell me what you're mad about? Or are we going to sit on the phone for 3 hours, right? What this is allowing you to do is essentially tell them exactly what you're feeling, exactly who you are and what you're there to do. And that makes them feel comfortable. So I'm going to kind of hit you guys quickly with a role and purpose. This would be, if I'm in a final expense appointment, I'm in a internet lead appointment. The only time this is really going to change, and it's a couple of words with verbiage, is going to be if I'm doing a mortgage appointment. All right. So what I would say is go for it. Yes.
Sorry. Do you want to role play?
Sure.
Do you want to just start from the beginning?
I'm in role play and in-home?
Yeah, final expense in-home. Not the whole thing, just through your role and purpose?
Yes, right now. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, cool. So, Christina, I'm going to actually see if we can kind of have you jump on here, which is good. All right, cool. All right, so and I'm going to act like I'm sitting with Christina right now. And again, I'm going to act like I'm sitting on a final expense mailer. This will also be applicable to an internet lead. So it's pretty much applicable to every lead except a mortgage lead, again, with a couple interchangeable words. All right, so first and foremost, when I go into Christina's house, I'm gonna say, all right, hey, Christina, I'm Marysa. Great to meet you. Shoes on or off?
You can keep them on.
Okay, great. And would you like me to wear my mask today?
No, that's all right.
Okay, great. Kitchen table's that way?
Yes, it's this way.
Okay. And guys, by the way, I don't know where Christina's kitchen table is. I'm just pointing to a place because I'm letting the client or prospect know I need to sit down and do business, right? So once I sit down, I'm there with Christina. I show Christina the lead. Now, Christina, before we get started, I just want to make sure you do remember filling this form out, sending it back.
Yeah, that's my handwriting.
Okay, great. Now, Christina, people will typically fill these forms out for one of three reasons. The first
Okay.
reason being, they don't have any life insurance at all. The second reason being they already have life insurance, but they're just looking to maybe add a little bit more or strengthen their position. And the third, they already have life insurance. They just want to make sure that they're not overpaying for it. Now, with that being said, Christina, which category do you fall within?
I don't have any life insurance.
You don't have any life insurance. Okay,
No.
got it. All right. Well, now I know why I'm here today. But before I go through anything with you, Christina, I do just want to tell you now, guys, this is where I'm going into my role and purpose. Now, Christina, before I go through anything with you today, I do just want to make sure that you know who I am, my role, my purpose, and really what I'm here to help you to accomplish today. Now, I'm what they call a Now, I'm what they refer to as a state field underwriter or a state broker. And that just means I work together with several dozen companies that offer these life insurance programs. So my job as the underwriter assigned to you and your family is to get you the lowest rate based off what we're looking to cover, if coverage is deemed necessary at all, okay? So, Christina, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about finances and plans that you may already have in place. Because again, you may not need this at all. If that's the case, I'm going to be the first person to tell you. And then I am going to talk to you a little bit about your health, not to be invasive, Christina, but just to make sure whatever company we're applying for today, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get you approved for that coverage and we won't get you declined, okay? And now your job really today, Christina, is to help me help you, meaning we all have a budget, right? I know that I do. I'm sure that you do. You know, the guy down the street probably does, right? So we want to make sure whatever policy we're applying for today, it not only suits the need, but it suits the budget as well. And we'll do our best to make that work together. Sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So Christina, thanks for kind of role playing that with me. I appreciate it. Kind of makes it a little bit more real. So guys, what am I doing there, right? I told her who I was, right? I told her what I was there to accomplish, right? And I'm being proactive versus reactive. Now, guys, this is literally the only thing, debatably the only thing that you can memorize and say it in a home. So if you would like a recording of that or anything like that, reach out to me, reach out to your upline. They may have one of their own. And I strongly, strongly suggest that if you want to win here, you type that baby out and you memorize it. Now, guys, I am not kidding when I say that I, till this day, and Christina on this call as my witness, will call her and be like, hey, do you mind if I run my role and purpose real quick? It'll be like 6:30 in the morning. I'm on my way to my first appointment. And I'm like, hey, do you mind if I run my role and purpose real quick? And she's like, nah, go for it. You know, she's like not even listening, but it's helping me with the repetition, right? And then when I go into that home, I feel so strong and structured because I laid out the three reasons why people fill these out. I gave my role and purpose, and I made sure I was being proactive versus reactive. After saying that to Christina, if at the end she says something to me like, well, I need to think about it. It's like, guys, well, we need to make a stronger role and purpose because we should not be getting that, especially not too often. So that's going to be your most common objection if you don't use your role and purpose. I have to think about it, right? The second thing is going to be, I can't afford it. That's why I'm talking about our budget, right? Help me help you fit the budget. And I'm letting her know I'm assigned to you. My job's to get you the lowest rate, right? And I'm also letting her know, hey, you can be honest with me about your health. I'm here to help you. So there's no objection there. And do they know they need the insurance? At that point, absolutely. Guys, who on here has filled the form out for life insurance? If you have, you probably have life insurance in place. If you're like, why would I fill a form out online for life insurance? Well, a lot of people do it, right? It's like, why would you send a piece of mail back? You know, like, I don't know. I'd probably fill it out online before I send a piece of mail back. So my point is, guys, is this role and purpose is going to structure everything. So even if your confidence isn't at a 10 because you're just getting started, you're just jumping into things, this allows your confidence to be at a 10 because you just told them who you are. The sale is made in the first 5 minutes. After doing my role and purpose, 99% of the time, I know if it's a sale or not. And if it's not, I'm going to just simply pack up and go. All right. So the importance of asking good questions. So after you run your role and purpose, just for, again, an order of operations. So I gave my 3 reasons, why, right? Like why people fill these out. I hit them with my role and purpose. Now I'm going right into my financial inventory sheet. If you are not familiar with the financial inventory, please get familiar. You need one of those in every single home. It's going to pull out the financial aspect, the health aspect, the insurances they already have in place, important things such as the person's beneficiary. All of those things are going to be extremely important to make sure that they're being pointed out in your actual financial inventory. So do yourself a favor. If you don't know what that looks like, go on FFLSolidity.com under resources and find that right now and print it out and get familiar with that. So after we run the role and purpose and financial inventory, now we're asking questions, guys. When value exceeds price, people buy, right? So Christina, if you don't mind, can I still use you as a mock on these questions, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So guys, I'm going to go through a series and you guys are going to kind of see this. And some of you guys have heard this before, but I'm going to go through kind of like a who, what, when, where, why, how type of scenario. And of course, every home is going to be a little bit different. But the time that I finally realized, Marysa, you need to ask these questions because no one else is going to ask them. And as I go through these questions, guys, I empower you to think like, have you talked to your own loved ones about these particular questions? And the answer is probably not. Christina and I are sisters, and we haven't had this conversation many times in real life. We've probably role played it more than we have talked about it in real life. It's not a conversation anybody wants to have, but it's a conversation that needs to be had, right? So the importance of asking good questions. So this here in the green, this is geared to a couple, right? With Christina right now, we're going to have Christina as single mom Christina, and we're just going to have Christina be Christina. So I went through her financial inventory. I got her health, and it's all looking good. But I don't necessarily know exactly why she filled the form out. She brought up her, her son named Andrew, and that Andrew wouldn't be in a good place. If something happened to her, she told me about that. So now I'm going to take a step back. Guys, you never want to pitch unless you already know it's sold. You don't want to ask questions that you don't know the answer to, right? So Christina, if something happened, just before I show you anything, Christina, just to make sure I'm doing my job correctly, if something had happened to you last night and you died, who does that burden fall?
It would fall on my sister and my son, Andrew.
Your son, Andrew?
Yeah.
Your son, we're going to just rock with your son, Andrew? Okay, and how old is Andrew?
He is 19.
He's 19? Okay, 19 going on 30. All right, awesome. Okay, so he would be impacted.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and is Andrew in school or what is that like? What does his day-to-day look like? Does he still live at home with mom?
He lives at home. He's a freshman in college.
Okay, so what would that look like, for Andrew if you died last night?
I mean, not very good. And guys, that's like an answer that a client will normally give you is like not too hot, not very good, not ideal, something like that. So yeah, it wouldn't be the ideal scenario for Andrew financially.
Okay, because he's still in school, he's in college.
Yeah, and I mean, I cover the bills for the house and whatnot.
Okay, so where would Andrew go if you died last night?
He would end up having to stay with my sister.
Okay, with your sister? And does she have like a family of her own?
Yeah.
Okay, is she like close by or?
Yeah, she's about 30 minutes away. She
Okay,
lives in Boston.
okay, awesome. And does she have like space that Andrew would be really comfortable there, or would he have to change school systems?
No, he's in college, so he wouldn't have to change schools, but yeah, it wouldn't be ideal for him to have to live with her.
Okay, got it. And would she be able to support his college, you know, make sure that his college is paid for, his tuition to keep him there?
No,
Okay. All right. I completely understand why I'm here then, Christina. Because how would Andrew be able to pay the bills without your income, right?
right. Yeah, he's very dependent on me.
So he wouldn't be able to.
No, he
Now,
wouldn't.
okay. All right. So now I know why I'm here. All right. And guys, those questions that I just asked Christina, you might be like, she doesn't go into a house and say that. Like, no, I do. And guys, you might be like, that's really rude. It's not rude. You need to realize you're rude if you're not asking these questions. You're not doing your job at the highest level. Flat like that. You're not doing your job. You don't care enough. I got this from Paul and it will always stick with me. And it's the reason why I will ask these questions until the day that I die. He says to me, if you knew, and this is in so many of his trainings, if you knew that that client was going to die tomorrow, like God, you know, whatever came down, they said, you know, this person, they're going tomorrow. They're going tomorrow. So you better go in there and do your best job. How much more are you going to fight for the client? Are you now willing to ask these questions? Right? It's like, guys, a question such as, Christina, if you died last night, what does that look like for Andrew? That's not a rude question. It's a reality question. It's a realistic question of what would it look like? Because if I don't know what it would look like, how can I pitch a solution? I can't. Now I'm just pitching whatever I think Christina thinks. I'm like, oh, she's 52 and she doesn't smoke, and maybe we should just get her some CBO, even though she filled out this final expense mailer. It's like, pump the brakes, right? We got to know what they're feeling like they need, but more importantly, why they feel like they need it. So if you do not ask questions, do not expect a yes. There was absolutely no value built, right? So moving on from there. All right. So showing options in the close. Let me close this out a little bit. So once you go through asking those questions, it is so common. And a lot of you guys on this call utilize this, and I love you all for it and for many other things. But call your upline from the home for product knowledge if needed. This is extremely common in your first 50 to 100 appointments. Just to shed some light on this, Rami Hamadi, Hall of Fame producer, you know, first full year this year, he sometimes will still call from the home. And it's not necessarily because he needs product help. It's almost for credibility purposes. So you might feel like, oh, like I'm less credible if I call somebody for help. It doesn't need to be like, hey, Christina, I have no idea what I'm doing right now, and it's my first day, so I'm going to call my upline. It's, hey, Christina, I want to make sure I'm going in the best direction for you and your family. So I'm just going to give my senior field underwriter a call just to run it by them that I am indeed going in the best direction, okay? And guys, 99.99999% of the time, they are so thankful that you're willing to take that extra step for their family. They're like, yeah, they're like, we love this person. So utilize your upline, guys. And now after that, let's just say we're in Christina's scenario here. So, you know, mom, 52, she's healthy, etc. Now I'm going to write out 3 different options, and I'm going to explain all of the options. Now, with this being said here, this is not to be confused with 3 different options. I don't mean 3 different products. I literally mean 3 different options. So if we're going Americo Eagle Premier, we're going Americo Eagle Premier. So option A might be, I pitch off bronze, silver, gold, final expense. You can pitch off whatever you want. Option A, option B, option C. People like a theme. People like a name. So just like they like final expense instead of whole life, just like they like mortgage protection instead of term, or income protection instead of term, right? So it's all just essentially conceptual selling, right? So write out 3 different options. Let's just say we're going Americo Eagle. Now I'm going to write out 3 different options for Christina. Maybe option A is going to say average cost of a burial today. And it's going to say, let's just say option A will be $20,000. So I'm going to write 20,000. Americo doubles in the event of an accident. So I'm going to put plus 40,000 in parentheses. I'm going to put accidental. I'm going to write option B out, you know, which would probably be 30, and option C, which would probably be 40. So I'm going to go through each option and I'm going to explain them all, every single option. Now, on my iPad, I have the prices pulled up. I know how much they cost. I just have not written that on my sheet yet. The reason for that is if I'm explaining something to somebody, and I'm sure we can all put ourselves in the shoes, if you're buying something or interested in buying something and the price tag is there, people typically tend to look at the price tag first before they look at what it is that it can do for them. We're pointing out what it is that it can do for them. So when we're going through options A, B, and C, it's extremely important that we're asking questions such as, does that make sense? And then we're also painting a picture. So option A, $20,000, Christina, God forbid you should die tomorrow. There would be $20,000 here for Andrew to make sure that bare minimum your final expenses are paid for. Okay. Now, if you were to pass accidentally, there's going to be $40,000 there. So God forbid, Christina, you get in a horrible car accident tomorrow, $40,000 is going to be there for Andrew to make sure your final expenses are covered. Again, we're painting pictures. That's our job, guys. Our job is to put the reality that they're never going to necessarily feel in front of them. When they die, right? When I die, And that same goes for everybody. So it's like, what is it going to look like when they die? Is it going to be a mess, or is it going to be, clean as it can be, right? That the person can, just recoup properly and finances aren't the biggest issue, right? So after I explain all three different options and they tell me everything makes sense, and I'm like, do you have any other questions about these? And usually they're like, well, no, I don't have any other questions, just the price. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? And if they ask me for the price as I'm going through option A, like, how much does that one cost? I say, hey, Christina, don't jump the gun on me, okay? I'm going to get there, but I have to just go through each option first. I'm going to show you exactly what they cost, okay? So then I write out three different options. They all make sense to Christina. She tells me, yes, they all make sense. Awesome. So I'm going to say, okay, so option A is $90, option B is 120, and option C is 150. Now I use this closing question. You can use whatever closing question you want, but you just want to make sure that you ask something, because if you just show the prices and you don't say anything, that's confusing to your potential client. So my closing question is, being that everything makes sense, which it looks like it does, and you saw the need for it, which one feels best to cover Andrew, both budget to need wise? And then you have to stop talking. And now, guys, you might be like, well, you won't stop talking right now. And I'm only kidding, but it's really important that after you ask the closing question, you stop giving your input and feedback unless it's asked for. You just gave your input and feedback for 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on how long you went through that information with the client. They don't need your feedback on the closing question. They need to just pick their plan. They may ask you a question, but basically this is when we go back to in elementary school and they're like, you're in timeout, don't speak unless you're spoken to, right? So it might feel like you're sitting there for a minute, 10 minutes. It might even feel like 30 minutes. You might be like, I'm sweating, right? It's okay. Just please, for your own sake and for the client's sake, just stop talking. And typically they're going to pick one. They're going to say that one. All right, that one. Let's just say option B. They click and then you just say, all right, Christina, grab your driver's license, voided check. I'm going to get that application going for you. If you make it weird, it's weird. If you don't make it weird, it's not weird, guys. So don't make it weird. It doesn't help anything. All right. And now, what are the next steps, right? So you got your applicant, you did your application, and either one of two things is going to happen, guys. We're going to get that instant decision that we always love, right? Right on the spot. And if your applicant is approved, you want to let them know they're approved. You want to congratulate them. I always high five my clients and I say, not everybody's approved on the spot. So, you must be doing great. And I give them a high five, right? So let your applicant know they're approved. If your policy went to underwriting, no big deal. You just want to say, all right, so Christina, so the policy did go ahead to underwriting. Typically just takes our underwriting team about 1 to 5 business days to get that process complete. And we should have that approval or declination back, then. I'll give you a call as soon as I should have an answer. Guys, if they're not approved, again, we want to let them know we'll call them as soon as we have an answer. Now, it may sound silly, but you want to track your clients in some way And you don't have to make it, you don't need to overcomplicate it. You don't need to take an additional day off to make sure you can figure out how to do this. It's simply saying, if somebody went to underwriting, you want to do everything that you said you were going to do in that house. If you told them you were going to come back on Friday night with a hot fudge sundae, you better do it, right? And I mean that, like, please don't tell your clients that. That's kind of weird. But in terms of when they're approved, right? Because they want to expect to see that draft on their account. So as soon as you have the approval, let's just say Christina wasn't approved. I'm going to give her a call. Say she was approved the day after with Aetna. Let's just say, hey, Christina, it's Marysa. We had sat down about your life insurance policy. How are you doing? They're going to be like, I'm doing good. How are you? You're like, I'm doing great. Congratulations, as you were approved for the coverage. So you do want to expect to see that draft of $90.81 on your account in the next, 1 to 2 business days, okay? And then do you have any questions for me, right? Just, do what you said you were going to do. So now, as I mentioned in the beginning, there's that leave behind form. The leave behind form is crucial, not only for the client, but for you too. So even if you're selfish, do it for yourself. If you're selfish though, it's probably not going to work here. So I don't think any of you guys are. So fill out the leave behind form. Again, it's going to have your information, the client's information, and the company's information that you wrote the client with. It's going to be your crutch to take a look back at your leave behind sheet and say, oh, Christina, who I wrote Aetna, I just got the email that she was approved. Let me pull up that leave behind. Okay, her premium's $90.61. Okay, cool. Now you can just call Christina versus having to jump through hoops in your back offices and being like, what company was it? And, did she get approved? Do they need, just be on top of it, guys, right? Now, if you're in home, if you're in the Slack channel, you're probably like, Marysa, Rami, Gianna, Helena, Christina, all Kyra, everybody. Take a photo with your clients, right? So take a photo of the leave behind for your record and your personal and your card information. Tell them what to expect, right? So again, we went over that. And then before I go into the picture with your client, last thing you want to do, guys, is we want to remember that if folks are looking for life insurance, mortgage protection, final expense coverage, whatever it may be, you may indeed be sitting with a shopper, right? And that's okay. But you want to make sure you're also protecting your business, right? What I'll say is, we have Helena Wares on the team, and Helena will shop the lowest quote. No one is going in there and, ever going to be able to get a better rate than Helena's policies, right? So do the right thing for your client. But above that, you want to prep your client to know that they're working with you. And if anybody calls them about life insurance, if they continue to receive calls, you might so if I'm talking to Christina, I'm going to say, all right, now, Christina, you may continue to receive calls about life insurance. This may have been the only one you filled out. You may have filled out quite a few. I know it can be confusing, but anything and everything, I'm your life insurance agent. I'm the one you want to reach out to for any claims, any payment updates, beneficiary updates. So if anybody should reach out to you, you just want to let them know that Marysa got you taken care of and you're all set. If they keep asking you questions about what policy do you have, or they just keep calling you, just tell them to call me. Give them my number and tell them I can answer any questions that they have. That way, Christina, they're going to stop calling you, right? So you want to prep your clients to know that A, they're working with you, but B, other people are going to reach out to them. And people will say anything to get in front of somebody, they're your manager, so you just want to protect your business. So what I'll always do too in home is I take a business card. I will literally I'll walk up to their fridge. Usually they're looking at me where are you going? And I put my business card on the fridge. And I say, if you guys have any questions, you always remember my business card is there. And now, last thing before I get out of you guys' way, we usually take a selfie with our clients. Would you guys mind taking a selfie with me? Christina hops in the selfie with me. I'm like, awesome, cool. Thank you, Christina. I'm going to send this to you right now. Now, if Christina's older and not really tech savvy on the phone, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take her phone. I'm going to save my number in. So I'm going to put Marysa Maggio Insurance. So I'm going to ask them, how will you remember me if you're looking for me in your contacts? So you remember me by my name, by insurance, life insurance agent, whatever you got to put me in there as. And then I add the photo that we took together. So now every single time Christina goes to call me, she's going to see that picture and she's going to remember the time that we sat there and we talked about what it was going to look like if Andrew did not have this coverage, if Christina did not have this coverage in place for Andrew. So every time they call you, boom, there you are, right? With them smiling, they're so excited because they're approved Americo Eagle, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing these extra steps. Asking a client to take a selfie literally takes like all of maybe like 30 seconds for you to be able to program that into your phone, their phone, and take the picture, right? It's like, it doesn't need to be like a pristine photo. It just needs to be you guys in the photo, hopefully smiling, right? So that really helps out with persistency as well, and referrals. They're more likely to refer you to their friends and family. So that's pretty much what the in-home process should look like from start to finish.